Hi. It's really hard to be taken seriously with this shirt. Or these old eyes. Hold on a second. Sorry. Look at this eye. I look 100. There we go. How ironic that they're red, by the way. Welcome to Raw Unapologetic. We are sponsored by the delicious, wonderful barbecue sauce called Two Guys. Go to their website, twoguys.com. They will mail it free anywhere. $7 for a bottle of barbecue sauce, and I'm telling you, you can go to Publix and buy a jar of crap for $7. It won't taste anything like this. Give it a try. These guys are the real deal. You think they're just a bunch of people in the kitchen throwing spices together. And again, they probably are. But somehow they hit pay dirt because it's absolutely delicious. I made meatballs the other night and put that barbecue sauce on it. I put it on my salad. I tried to dip it in broccoli, but broccoli still sucks. But you really can't blame them for that. You know, that's just, it is what it is. Anyway, I'm going to talk real quick about this week. Has been an interesting week. Still fighting with a publisher on book number 2, Rebellious Youth. Still can't seem to get my hand on a bunch of hardcovers. So I decided Tuesday to just take a day off and jump on Lurleen, which is the Softail, and just go for a ride. And sadly enough, I had to kind of force myself to do it, which I never had to do in my whole life since I was 9 years old. My God, I had a chance I had to ride the motorcycle. I rode the motherfucking thing. But for some reason, this has just been a couple of odd weeks, and it's been hard to motivate myself to do anything. I've just been kind of down and this and that. And I had to force myself. I know that sounds sick, but yeah, I had to force myself to get on the bike. I told myself, well, just maybe kind of go over the bridge and around the circle, which is an area I ride around here. But I thought, no, I'm going to at least go out to Arcadia, which is, I love that ride, and have breakfast and maybe come back. But no, my goal was to go out to Okeechobee, Florida. I'm researching book number 3, which is going to be called Black River, the story of the disillusioned comedian. And so far, my God, I'm so proud of it. I really am. It's coming out great. I got to rewrite a couple of parts of it, but I wanted to go out to Okeechobee, where the story is going to take place, and kind of soak up some of the local color, and of course visit the local biker bar, which Iron Eagle Bar. Oh my God, that place just is the most authentic biker bar I've ever seen. They were the 2 nicest people I ran into. They own the place, Betty and Reno. And I'm telling you, they have somehow survived this coronavirus nonsense where they got closed down and opened back up and closed down. And these are real people in this country that we don't seem to interview when it comes to talking about this topic. They told me they spent all of their life savings. Now, they're older than me, you know, so that's old. And they were talking about their life savings. They are responsible businessmen and women who had a decent life savings from what she was telling me. I didn't ask her. She didn't tell me, but she said she went through the entire thing at their age, gone, just so they could survive all over this nonsense. Those are the people that I don't want to get onto this topic, but I am so tired. Every person I've met, every person I've seen on TV who runs in front of the camera, who preaches this, we need to shut down people over profits. I hate that term. I ever see anybody do that, I'm going to snap their finger off, and I'm going to shove it where it might be pleasant for some, less so than others. They 100% of the time, this is anecdotal evidence, it's not scientific, but every single person I've seen, they're getting a paycheck. So it's very easy for them to say, people over profits. Oh, by the way, I get a paycheck and my life hasn't changed a bit. But if you want to continue with your life, you're a selfish bastard. Anyway, they were great people. It was a great bar. I went out and I was going to stop at Arcadia to have a quick breakfast. There's a place called Wagner's out there. Or not Wagner's, I'm sorry. Wheeler's. Arcadia, Florida is this interesting little town. In Florida, everything is a city. It's like if you have more than 500 people, you can incorporate it as a city. There's only 7,000 people in this place, and they call it a city. I've never heard of such a thing. You think about New York, 8 million people. You know, my adopted hometown, Rochester, you know, hundreds and thousands of people. I mean, this city of 7,000 people, it never sleeps, it never wakes up. But it's a very interesting city. I keep calling it a city. To go the downtown, which is like 3 blocks, it's extremely historic. There's an old opera house. I'm thinking there's an opera house in Arcadia, Florida, which was extremely rural in its day, but somehow Charles and Caroline Ingalls wanted to go out to the opera house. They're just, it's a fascinating little town. It really is. I really enjoy going there. Wagner's, I did it again. Wheeler's has been there since 1929 or 8, something like that. And every time I go in there, I think, my God, there's been conversations, you know, about what Babe Ruth did last night, what Herbert Hoover did last night, things like that. It's fascinating to me. I think I'm sitting in a place where, you know, people were coming in off the fields and with bib overalls and barefoot and, hey, throw me some eggs on the grill. Well, it wasn't a grill back then. It was probably just an iron skillet. But I like that place. I went in there, and it was Tuesday, so it wasn't overly busy. And I sat by myself at this table. I did my usual joke. When the waitress says, you can sit anywhere you want, I always say, can I sit back there with you? Most of the time they get a sense of humor about it. She did as well. She said something, I don't know what she said. But so I sat at this table by myself, and I got some coffee. And this older guy walks in, older than me. Yes, so that's old. And he said, hey, how you doing? I said, good. He said, do you mind if I sit with you? And I'm looking around, there's like 5 empty tables. Unfortunately, I'm like a city boy at heart, and all I can think of is, I'm not gay. Why are you here with me? You're going to try to sponge a meal off me? You're going to talk to me about Jesus, the way the Reverend Mungrum talks about it? I mean, I don't know what he wanted. But unfortunately, my arch was up, and I was like, what does this guy want? Well, you know what he wanted? He just wanted to talk. And I didn't have Fred Flintstone on. I had some sort of red, white, and blue shirt on. He says, I like your shirt, young man. I said, thank you. He goes, I'm assuming that's your bike out there. I had my Softail out there. And I said, yes. He goes, mine's in the shop right now. He goes, been riding my whole life. His name was Dave. And we just got to kind of bantering back and forth and talking and things. He was talking about he's lived in this area all his whole life. And he was talking about Barack Obama flew in, I guess, in 2012 or 2016. First American president ever to visit the town. And this is not Barack Obama country, by the way. This is not, no, it's not. It's a very rural, conservative. They still appreciate the flag. They still appreciate their church. And they don't take kindly to people setting fire to buildings from upper white middle class yuppies that live in mom's basement. But he said to me, he said, I stood in line for about 2 hours trying to meet him, shake his hand. He goes, I didn't get to shake his hand. And I thought, God, that's interesting. You mean you didn't like protest or try to burn the plane down? And he even said, you know, I didn't vote for the guy. I didn't vote for the guy either time. He said, he goes, but this is like the first time an American president came to our town, and I wanted to meet him. And I thought, wow, how very Americana that used to be. That this is the president of my country, and I want to meet the man just because I want to meet the man. It wasn't about trying to politicize or anything. It was interesting because as him and I were talking, another guy, he's waving to everybody, all the regulars. Hey, Joe. Hi, Sam. It was like, you know, again, like Walnut Grove. And in walks a guy, and he says, oh, that's a friend of mine. He waves him over. He goes, do you mind if he sits with us? And now there's an us. It wasn't me, but now it's an us. So, you know, of course not. Another older guy, older than me, and a couple seconds later, his biological brother walks in. He says, hey, come on over and sit with us. And they ordered breakfast, and we got to talking. Their names were, the original guy's name was Dave. The across from me was named Mark, and the other guy, or no, I'm sorry, his name was James, and James's brother was named Mark. All right from the Bible, just missing, John, and well, Judas wasn't there, thankfully. I didn't have 30 pieces of gold to buy him a coffee, or silver, I'm sorry. I'm Catholic, forgive me. But what a conversation. We got to talking about, he says, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Rochester, New York. I said, I'm living over in St. Petersburg now. He goes, wow. He looks at his watch. Yeah, he had a watch on. He goes, it's 9 o'clock. I said, yeah. He goes, you're a true blue biker, aren't you? You're out there for the ride. And I said, yeah. And I was talking to Dave earlier, and he said, yeah, he's on his way out to Okeechobee. And he looks at me and says, Okeechobee? Oh my God. He goes, that's another hour and a half. Holy cow, you're going to have a good ride out there. It's a nice day. And my initial stop was going to be 20 minutes, have an omelet, coffee, flirt with a waitress, and leave a tip and go. I sat there for an hour and a half. Every time the waitress came over and said, you want another cup of coffee? I kept telling myself, no, I gotta go. But then I was reminded to myself, no, I don't have to go. I don't have a time schedule here. I can go whenever I want. This conversation with these three people, all of them were veterans. Two of them were from the Vietnam era, and they were talking about their old iron heads and their old pan heads, and how they used to race up and down such and such road here and there. And the one guy interested me the most. He was in his early 70s. That was James. He said, I've been coming here since I was 12 years old. And all I could think of was, my God, that's over 50 years ago. This guy's been coming into this diner with his ma and his pa. And nothing's changed for him. But they were the most down-to-earth, real people that I've spoken to in a long time. And I sat at that diner for an hour and a half. And I didn't do a whole lot of talking. I did a lot of nodding. I did a lot of smiling. A couple of yeps, I hear ya. Of course. I gave the brief story of why I'm limping and all that kind of stuff. But it was like one of the best conversations I ever had. It reminded me, this was what going just out for a ride is like. It's not, yeah, I love being behind the handlebars. I love the wind in what used to be my hair. And listening to the music and the scenery, and I mean, all that stuff is just captivating. It's intoxicating. And I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. But it's this interaction with people, these like-minded people, that this guy came over to talk with me simply because of the shirt I was wearing, and he knew I was out riding the bike. And he thought, well, I could go sit over here and just have coffee and tea by myself, or I could sit with this guy I don't even know, because I know he probably has a lot of things in common with me. And as much as I didn't want him to at first, I am ever so grateful that he did, and him and his other friends. I mean, I can't not tell you what a great conversation it was. I hung on every word they were saying. They were talking about the war, they were talking about old drag racing, and they were talking about the mill they used to work at. And they were kind, nice people. They really didn't talk much about politics. They didn't talk much about social policy, any of that stuff. Where everybody else in America wants to think they're just a bunch of rubes and a bunch of white supremacists. That's not what I ran into. I ran into decent American men who just love their community, love their country, and worked hard and raised their family, and they're just living their life. And it was just fascinating. I mean, like I said, I sat there for an hour and a half, and finally I thought, Dutch, you got to get out to Okeechobee, even though you don't have a time schedule. You really do got to get out there. And it was about another, 70 miles or so. God, what a beautiful day. And I finally said, gentlemen, I'm a writer, and I can't tell you how much this experience has been invaluable to me. And it was. And of course I bought their breakfast. And they were not only, of course they let me buy their breakfast, but they were almost mildly embarrassed. I think they were caught between graciousness of the offer and their dignity, because he said, no, please, you really don't have to do that. And I got a more forceful stance, and I said, "Sir, you're right, I don't have to, but I want to." So I threw down, I went over to the wait. It was funny because I looked over to the waitress and I not fingered her. She was, yeah, sorry about that. I looked over at the waitress and I motioned her with my finger. And she said, "Oh, you can come on up and pay." And I think it was Mark to the right of me said, "You're in middle America now. You actually got to get up, go to the cash register, pay it yourself. They're not going to bring you a check over here." And I thought, that's just so cool. So I went down, threw down, I think it was $60. Or 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it was $80. I threw down $80 and I just said, "Pay for a Buddhist breakfast and keep what's left over," which was probably about, I don't know, $15, $20. No big deal. But my God, it just kind of really, and from there, that ride to Okeechobee was just phenomenal because I kept replaying that over and over in my head. And this was a morning I didn't want to go. I kept saying, "Hey, you need to go for a ride. You need to get out. You can't just sit around the house and do nothing and vegetate and look at the 4 walls, pet your dogs. You need to get out into the air, get some sunshine, get behind those handlebars that that makes you feel alive." And I'm so glad I did. And I'm so glad I met those 3. And I was going to take a selfie, but I thought, you know something? I'd really rather keep their memory up here, their name and their picture up here. And somehow I'm going to incorporate that conversation into book number 3, Black River. I really am, because it just meant that much to me. And of course, the trip out to Okeechobee was great. Rural Florida, people don't seem to understand. That's what they call the real Florida. It was in the middle of the state. Nothing but trees and empty fields. I swear, from Arcadia to Okeechobee, I probably came across 10 cars and maybe 20 buildings until it started getting into the city limits. There's just nothing out that way. Orange groves and fields and bulls. We're a very big meat state, believe it or not. I know everybody thinks it's Texas, but come get yourself a Florida steak sometime. Anyway, that's it. I know I'm rambling, and probably that ride and them meeting those 3 guys means a lot more to me than it does to you, because I internalized it. I felt that emotional connection, and sometimes that's hard to explain to people while you're sitting here in a chair and tugging at your glasses every goddamn 5 seconds. So I'm going to go. Feeling better this week. I really am. Thank you all for listening again. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the instant messages I get, even the littlest remarks of how much you appreciate my work and all that kind of stuff. Please keep doing that. I mean, it just makes my day. I don't care if it's just a couple of words or a thumbs up or, "Hey, I loved your book. I really did. Hey, I never looked at it this way. I loved this part, that part." The audience is growing, and I can't appreciate that any more than I do, and I'm humbled by it. I really am. This is something I've always appreciated. I'd love to write ever since I was just a wee little guy with hair and a lot less weight, but still loved Fred Flintstone. So I'm gonna go. Thank y'all again. Appreciate it. Yes, I'm from New York. I say y'all, but I love you. I'm out. Take care.